If you've been on vacation in the US sometime within the last 10 years, then you've probably found yourself in a place that I like to call the tourist trap town. That's a term I've coined specifically for the making of this video, and I'm going to tell you what they are, give a few examples, and tell you what's wrong with them. Chances are you know of or have been to a few tourist trap towns, and either you love them or you hate them. Notable examples include Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Huntington Beach, California, and Gatlinburg, Tennessee, but there are many, many more. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody from any of these places in this video. That's not the purpose of this video, nor does it do any good. However, I'm prepared to offer an in-depth analysis of what makes these cities and towns tourist trap towns, and it may not be what you think. Tourist trap towns have many things in common, not the least of which is that they rely on cheap, touristy gimmicks to prop up most of their economy, similar to Las Vegas, but on a much smaller scale. And if it feels like I'm picking on a city you really, really love and want to vouch for them in the comments section down below, please do so. And while you're down there, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. Anyway, most of these cities I'll be discussing in this video I've been to myself. I have my own opinions on them, so give that as much weight as you'd like and take it as a learning experience. But the facts are the facts, so let's get to them. Tourist trap towns aren't known for their prestige in the arts, culture, gastronomy, or cutting-edge development in public transit. No, these towns rely heavily on being resort destinations, with millions of visitors per year spending billions of dollars. It's no wonder why the marketing departments within these city governments are spending top dollar to lure travelers there. According to the Myrtle Beach Sun News, in 2022, the Chamber of Commerce spent roughly $20 million on marketing, landing 2.4 billion impressions. That's only for a city of just over 30,000 residents. But are the residents even happy that their tax dollars are helping foster its tourist trap moniker? More on that later. Places like Myrtle Beach have gained a reputation of being a destination. But what kind of destination? One that's preserved in rich history with many museums and well-maintained 19th and early 20th century buildings? One with undisturbed outdoor activities? One that's actually worth the cost of traveling, providing unique and memorable experiences within and around it? I don't think so. For tourist trap towns, they're not focused on any of that. Instead, their sleight of hand presents a vacation destination full of overpriced beach or mountainfront resorts, completely destroying what was once an open public beachfront, littered with dingy and ugly amusement parks, overpriced arcades, Jimmy Buffett Margaritavilles, and Ripley's Believe It or Not aquariums? Okay, I guess I'll give them points for that, even though it feels kinda gross. Oh, and would you look who else has a Ripley's Believe It or Not aquarium? I feel like at this point Ripley's should just buy these towns outright and cover them in gauche attractions like Hershey did. The problem with all this is that these cities are becoming one and the same, distancing themselves from the charm, architecture, history, and accommodations that made them unique and memorable, and instead just invest in overdone and underwhelming gimmicks. Venture down Ocean Avenue in Myrtle Beach and you won't be greeted with pedestrian-friendly streets, coffee shops, local goods stores, or produce markets. You're greeted with storefront after storefront of gift shops, knockoff gimmicky Bubba Gump shrimp restaurants, and 100% pure sugar stores. It's an affront to the senses, yet so many people flock to places like this. Why? Well, there's a sort of mob mentality to them. South Carolina is an interesting case study in itself. I believe the state is home to some of the most beautiful towns worth visiting in the country. Places like Beaufort, Bluffton, and Greenville are all deserving of the attention Myrtle Beach has gotten over the years. These are places that are investing in local businesses, preserving historic sites and buildings, and developing density in smart ways. So maybe they don't have a beach like Myrtle, but it's gotten to the point to where you can't even enjoy the beach there during the peak season. Not only because so much of the coastline has become privatized, but because the crowds are just too overwhelming to relax. And don't think I forgot about you, Hilton Head. You're getting your own special video. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm being too hard on these places. It's not their fault they let themselves become overrun with haunted ghost town tours or concrete jungle-sized parking lots or fun plazas. Except it kind of is. Let's move away from the East Coast and take a trip to the West, to Huntington Beach, California. This is Huntington Beach circa 1940. It's a typical 1940s beach downtown. Local shops on both sides with gas lamp lit sidewalks and a laid back small town vibe. There's nothing fancy here. Nothing trying to grab your attention in a, hey, look at me, buy something kind of way. This is before corporatism, greed, and tourism took over the downtown drag. And here it is today. Yikes. They tore all these buildings down in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s and replaced them with ugly, stucco, whatever the heck this is. Cities like Charleston, South Carolina, Aspen, Colorado, and Asheville, North Carolina all look like this during the turn of the 20th century. And here are those same cities in the present day. Instead of tearing out their old infrastructure and redeveloping it with newer buildings, these cities consider their buildings and businesses and the locals who operate out of them as a part of their history and culture themselves. And look, I'm not saying these places have never been great or don't have the potential to be great, but for the time being, I think these cities have strayed far away from their identity and prioritize money over everything, at the sacrifice of their identity. These places are not welcoming to people who have no interest in emptying their pockets into overpriced beachfront bars and grills or souvenir shops filled with sweatshop t-shirts. What does it say about a town that had to place literal guardrails to keep its pedestrians from being killed by motor vehicles on its own main street? Main streets aren't supposed to look like this. They're supposed to look like this. Why do you think hotels and resort companies flock to places like Myrtle Beach? It's because they know all too well about the tourist-trapped town dilemma. Tourists flock to Myrtle Beach for the warm weather, promise of beachfront activities, and to escape their daily lives in Carolinian paradise. But upon arrival, they quickly realize their spending is way over budget, they're never able to get a table at any of the world-famous bar and grills, and the beach is just too packed and rowdy to enjoy. This makes visitors just want to stay in their hotel and not even bother leaving. Tourist-trapped towns have effectively scared their visitors into not wanting to explore the town after just the first day. Knowing this, hotels hike up the prices of accommodations and amenities, leading to you just being stuck in your own room on your own vacation. I'd much rather go to a town that welcomes and treats its visitors with respect and dignity, and not just like a dollar sign. And that respect should be mutual. Okay, so this is the self-reflection part of the video. So let me ask you this. How many times have you been to a place hoping it would be an amazing, relaxing, and maybe even an adventurous getaway, only for your wallets to have been drained, your nerves to have been spent, and your desires depleted? Well, that's on purpose. See, the point of these towns is to make your vacation suck. This is the feeling I had on a trip to Sedona, Arizona in late 2019. Sedona is home to some of the most amazing scenery on planet Earth. And while it's a newer city, its downtown harbors so much wasted potential. This is what downtown Sedona looks like. It's underwhelming, stucco storefronts lined with gift shop after gift shop, ugly self-proclaimed art galleries filled with mass-produced junk prints, and the dreaded 3-star bar and grill infestation. How many made in China welcome to Sedona shirt stores can you realistically put on one street? There's no culture in downtown Sedona. Imagine if it looked like downtown Durango or Telluride, or one of my favorite Sunbelt cities, Flagstaff, Arizona. But instead, just the same fortune-telling genie next to the fake jewelry store. And for a city that cares so much about how it looks, it demanded McDonald's to change the color of its logo. It's disappointing that it's leaning so hard into the tourist trap status, just to make a quick buck. Sedona just so happens to be lucky enough to be situated on some of the most captivating land in the US, and there's a lot of outdoor activities that I highly suggest you escape the downtown to take advantage of, if you can. Luckily, some cities are fighting back. The residents of Savannah, Georgia are actively trying to stave off tourist trap town status, and not in a NIMBY sort of way. These are not new housing projects locals are fighting off. They're fighting off developers wanting to bulldoze existing buildings in order to make room for cheap tourist traps. While tourism can be great for a city's economy, I believe the type of tourism matters just as much. So far, the biggest fight in Savannah is between the locals who want to keep the historical building's authenticity and the developers who want to build new structures quickly to profit from an influx of over 14 million tourists visiting every year. This fight for identity is just one of the many reasons that locals distrust the tourism industry, according to the Savannah Morning News. One last thing. Not all tourist trap towns are created equally. Places like Monterey, California, Key West, and St. Augustine, Florida, have historically leaned towards preservation as opposed to bulldozing. These places are ripe with history in every corner, and it's sad to see them go down the same path of trap towns in more recent years. Some of my favorite memories from childhood were taking school trips to experience the historical and cultural value of these towns, visiting ancient forts, museums, and landmarks from history's most important moments and figures. Nowadays, though, I wonder if the youth of today are still getting those same experiences. I sure hope they are. We need more future history and geography nerds. Well, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting the like button down below, and tell me how you feel about any of the cities down in the comment section. Do you think spending the entire vacation in your hotel or resort is beneficial? Maybe there's a case to be made, but not by me. See you next week from Town, City, State.